There's really no best property, best area where you can invest or you can live. It's really based on what you need. When you buy a car, the value of that car depreciates. The only time it increases if that car helps you earn more. If it doesn't, and you're just buying it para cute, buy the property. So what is the best property real estate to buy right now in 2021? And that's what we're gonna answer in this video. Please do note, as I answer this, in no way am I a real estate expert, because as you all know, I love paper assets more. I love stocks, I love cryptos, I love the ability to be able to store assets in the digital space. So whatever you will hear in this video are things based from my own biases, my own experiences, and also from the lens of a stock market investor making and dabbling his way into the real estate market. The best property, that question alone, where you will live, is something that's very, very subjective. Why? Because in the midst of this pandemic, I even saw friends who bought properties in Pampanga, the Porac area. I've seen friends who bought properties in Antipolo, so they have a great view of Metro Manila. I've seen friends who bought properties in the Calamba area so that they have a view of the mountains and also the Laguna de Bay. I've seen some friends who bought properties close to the beach, regardless if it was Batangas, Bataan, Laguna, Cavite. And I've seen some friends who just bought somewhere near the Santa Rosa area. It's not at the beach, but to them, it's at least far from Metro Manila already. And those people, they're under the context that work from home will be here for good. And I think work from home will be here because companies have seen it, that it's very efficient. They save a lot of money. Their employees are better off. You don't have to be stuck in traffic. Work from home is amazing because it has pushed everyone to become more efficient in their meetings. Even after this pandemic, I'll say this, I don't think I'm gonna do a face-to-face meeting if hindi naman talaga kailangan, because when you travel just for a meeting and it's a 30-minute meeting or an hour meeting, and then it would cost you 2 hours going there, an hour going there, then another hour going back, then that's wasted time that you could never get back anymore. And what this pandemic has done, it has shown us that there really is an efficient way for me to be able to not just live my life, but be efficient on my business and actually to earn as well. So those who are getting out of town got it all together also, with that they have a bigger space. As long as the internet connectivity is well, I think they're okay. They'll be able to thrive. They'll be able to survive. Very evident, also over the past year since we started this pandemic, property prices, especially the high-end areas in Batangas, Cavite, Laguna, have started to also go up in price. They've appreciated faster than some of the properties here in Metro Manila. But those are my friends. And I'm not that type of person that would want to go out the city. For those who have been following me for quite some time, I like nature, I like hiking, I like doing that, but in relatively cold places. And if you've watched my other video where you asked me, will I pick a condo or a house? I answered condo there because I like the city, at least for Metro Manila, because it's efficient. Everything that you need is around here. And it's easy also to do the things that you want if you would need and want to also go out. And I still really like the vibe, you are in a place that's like Singapore. You can walk even at midnight and it's well lit, it's safe, etc. There's really no best property, best area where you can invest or you can live. It's really based on what you need. Do you see yourself working also in that particular area? Will it be close to a school when everything goes back to normal that your kids will also be in? Always factor in time. Time is still one of your greatest assets. So where you live, if you have a choice to pick a place where it allows you to save time, it allows you to become more efficient, I think that will help you in your business and your investments also for the long term. But this is what I could say also into all of this. Do your research, do your due diligence, try to narrow it down. 5 properties, 5 areas. Do you want to stay in Alabang? Do you want to stay in Green Hills? Do you want to stay in BGC or the Makati area? Do your research on those particular areas and then you start to narrow it down. List down certain rules and certain parameters on why you want to buy this property. List down certain rules and parameters on why you want to buy this condo. And what's interesting about that is those parameters are very, very specific to who you are as an individual. Those parameters are very, very specific to what your style is and what you value the most. In my opinion, it's so important that you have the cash flow to be able to support it, especially if you're taking out a loan or if you have the cash to be able to make that down payment. Most of the time, what you put in during pre-selling is a lower amount than what you would actually pay for already once you turn over. Meaning, there are some properties, 20% yung kailangan mo for the pre-selling, and then the 80% kicker would come in already when you start to turn over. So you have to also compute that, do I have the money to pay the 80%? Because if I don't have the money, I will have to take out the loan. Do I have enough cash flow that the bank will actually approve me to actually get the loan? Because the sad thing that could happen is, what will happen if you get denied for the loan? What will happen if you don't have the cash flow also to be able to support it? Because it's easy to become super tempted when we see the lot, the house, the condo, the apartment that we want to buy, and it's easy to get carried away. Please do remember this, that one of your biggest assets, that if you choose to buy a property na tulog siya for a long period of time, is the house, the condo, the apartment that you will live in. Totoo na asset yan. Totoo that it appreciates in value. But similar to a stock, until you sell it, you won't make money off of it. And if you plan to live there forever, it won't have any value in terms of you experiencing it as cash. The only time you get to experience that property that you're living in, kung umakyat siya ng 200%, 400%, 500% in the next number of years, is when you actually sell. But please do remember this, that when the property that you own appreciates in value, everything else around it also will appreciate. If you sell that, you will still need a place to live. That means you will be buying a house at that level also. Meaning, kung umakyat na siya, kung bibili ka rin also dun sa pinagbentahan mo, mataas na rin yun. Or kung magre-rent ka also at that particular time, rental amounts at that particular period will also be higher. So I think that's something that you need to consider, because what's always talked about is, okay, real estate is a asset. Totoo, it's really an asset. You have to realize it that the only time that you get to experience it is when you sell it. The only time that it really becomes an investment is when you flip it and you take it out as cash. But if you're living in it, then you don't really get to experience it. So that also puts in the question about people who want to rent. Renting versus buying, it's not anymore a one-size-fits-all decision, because we all grew up under the notion that you have money, buy a house so that you have security. But I just want to submit this to everyone, that I think there was also a ideology before, because majority of the people were employed. Majority of the people before didn't have a lot of options on where they're supposed to invest. When they hit their 60s, wala na silang source of income. When they hit their 60s, they needed to have a place to stay na hindi na nila kailangan magbayad ng rent. But if you look at what's happening right now in 2021, if you have multiple assets, that multiple assets could be able to give you money to be able to pay rent wherever you live in the world. Those assets also will carry you through even though you're not working anymore. So I think the dynamics are different right now. I'm not saying that you don't buy a house. I'm not saying that you rent forever. But I'm saying it's not wrong if you also rent forever, as long as you have assets that can support the rent. As long as you have assets that even though you stop working, those assets will work hard for you. So what's my style? I'll do a ton of research, but it has to be in a place where I really like, where I like to live, where I see myself for the long term, and I'll shore up cash. It's okay also to take out a loan, but it has to be something that you're not just taking a loan just for the sake of taking a loan, but you are taking a loan because you computed it that, okay, if I rent it out versus I take out a loan, hindi naman siya masyado nagkakalayo. Because kung hindi naman siya masyado nagkakalayo, then it makes more sense also for you to be able to own it. Because later on, if you don't like it anymore, over a long term, you have an asset that appreciates in value that you could also sell. But on the flip side also is this. If you do not plan to stay there for the long term, maybe it might be better to just rent out first. Because think about it, if you sell it, you also have to consider that there are taxes that you also need to pay. If it really has not appreciated that much, then maybe you might be incurring a loss as well. So that's something that you need to consider, because every time you sell something, of course, there are stuff that you need to pay for the broker and the taxes. And if it's just a year or two, and if it really hasn't gone up as much, then you might not be at a position where you're actually earning from it. If you notice it, it will always go back to what's important to you, what you value, and what your style is. I think no, over a period of time, that the closer you are still to the city, the closer you are to the center, there's a larger chance that it holds its value. If you are buying a more premium property than a more, say, common one, the one that's more premium, its price has ability to appreciate much faster, particularly even for condos. Because if you look at condos, you can check it out. The ones that are more expensive gets maintained better. And the more they get maintained, the more it holds value, the greater its ability that you get to actually sell it also at a higher price later on. And I think no, the greater the access to establishments that are of value, from hospitals to schools to malls, the safety of that particular place, is it actually gated, puts a bit of a premium in terms of its appreciation. Just to end this, the best property is something that you studied well, that you also studied the amount of money that you're putting in, the amount of money that you're putting on a regular basis, also based on your salary, that if you enter into debt, it's not something that will cripple you. Because please remember, you will have other expenses that are above and beyond also just paying for the house, that it should be in a good level, that you are still protected, that you get to pay your needs, you also get to invest for your future, and in the same way, you get to live in a place and a property that you actually like as well. I hope that these guidelines have helped you, but I'll say this over and over, that if you are thinking about buying something that's nice but it's above and beyond your budget, then don't go for it. You can always be more creative and find other areas that are within your means. Because here's the thing, if you stay within your means, it gives you the financial flexibility to do better. It removes the fear that what if there's something bad that happens and I lose income, and then super liit lang ng buffer mo. It removes the fear that baka mawalan kayo ng titirahan eh. That's why it's super important that whatever you invest into, whatever house you buy, whatever condo you buy, is something that you can actually afford. Because if it's something that you can actually afford, it will allow you to, number one, not just have peace of mind, but it will also allow you to be more creative, because hindi mo na iniisip saan ko kukunin yung pambayad ng bahay, but you are thinking already, my house will be covered. I can think about how I can build wealth over the long term. And that's what I think is more important, because when you're in the offense, or you're on the offense, you're thinking about how you can build wealth for the long term. Then as you start to earn more, that's when you start to upgrade. You don't have to rush to buy the most expensive house out there if you cannot afford it. Always go for what you can afford. Always go into something that won't sacrifice your financial plans, because please do remember, you have financial plans for sure. Retirement, financial freedom, college tuition if you have kids, if you like to travel. So there are other goals and house, property, it's just one of them. And that's what I want to say. And I don't know if this will be the most popular video that I will ever make. And I don't know if this is something that people will actually like. But this is just me sharing my thoughts and my ideas in a way that I hope it helps you decide on what you're supposed to do. So comment below if this is something that helped you and if it gave you value. And if you're new to this channel, I normally don't talk about real estate as much, but I've been getting a lot of questions from crypto and stock investors asking about it. So that's why I gave my thoughts in this video. But normally we talk about the stock market, we talk about cryptocurrencies, and if you like more about that, like, share, subscribe, and smash the bell so you get updated every time I come up with new content about investing. But above and beyond that, if you want to learn about the stock market, check out the links below for the seminars that I have live, Zoom, and also the books that I've written, 5 books that are available in National Bookstore and Shopee. And if you want to actually execute and you want to invest in either stocks, cryptos, or forex, we have links down below as well to help you. Ultimately, if you're asking me what's better, bibili ka ba ng bahay o bibili ka ng kotse? If you're living where you're working, unahin yun yung bahay. Again, it's a case-to-case basis, because of course, you also need to travel around and move around. But please always remember this, when you buy a car, the value of that car depreciates. The only time it increases if that car helps you earn more. If it doesn't, and you're just buying it para cute, buy the property. Buy something that will appreciate over a long period of time. So I guess that's it for now. I hope that this is something that was insightful for you. I hope that this is something that gave you value and helped you reach your goals of financial freedom. And I hope this video helps you trade well, trade strong, trade smart. See you all again soon, guys, and God bless you all.